Welcome to a very special episode of Dine on the Rough. I'm here at the Depot Deli in Shenandoah, Iowa, and I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I'm cold and it's now starting to rain. So let's go inside where they're famous for their own microbrew beer, and we can get a fresh meal while we're at it. Let's go. Welcome to Shenandoah, Iowa, population 5,546, and home to the first inductees of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Everly Brothers, and renowned eatery, the Depot Deli. Made from an old Wabash train depot, owner Bill Hillman opened this place in 1983, bringing entertainment and food to the beautiful town of Shenandoah. And for the past 15 years, Bill has brought his very own microbrew beer to the depot in forms of wheat, stout, pale ale, and much more. In addition to great service and food, the depot serves as a preservation for local history. You can see these pictures and artifacts adorning the walls of this great establishment, and occasionally a quirky one will catch your eye. In addition to the local history inside, the grounds of the depot holds a landmark which a famous president spoke at. Fun fact, my favorite president, Teddy Roosevelt, stood right here. I think I'm a little bit better looking though. I got a chance to talk to owner Bill Hillman, and he was kind enough to give me a walking tour of the restaurant. Thanks for having us, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. Appreciate it.
Now, you were telling me a little bit earlier that you've owned this for several decades. How long have you had it?
We've had it 28 years.
28 years,
yeah.
That's insane.
It was in danger of being torn down when we decided to take over.
That's awesome. Is it a family business then?
Yeah, it is. My two daughters work here, and we've been working at it for all that time.
Now, I'd heard that you guys have your own still. Is that true?
Well, kind of a still. We make our own beer here.
Fantastic.
It's a microbrewery, and we make. We've done that probably since the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and so we make a lot of beer. We make root beer, and we sell a lot of that stuff.
So even if our viewers are under 21, come here because they have root beer as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, looking around, this place has a ton of history. Would you mind taking me on a tour?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Let's just
let's head this
start
way.
off this way.
All right.
Now, Bill, I'm seeing a lot of really big names here. Joe Biden, I see John Edwards, Bill Clinton. What? Have they all come here?
Yeah, most of the presidential candidates come through here. You know, Iowa's first in the nation, so we're able to get all the candidates as they come through. And we've been doing that since 1983. Just about every candidate has stopped.
That's
and
awesome.
Then they've been here before, so they kind of stop again when they're running through, and it's people they know. It just kind of builds on itself. So I'm just looking around. I see General Wesley Clark there, and
oh wow.
There's quite a few different people.
Now I see a guitar over here. What's the story behind this?
Well, the Everly Brothers are from Shenandoah, and in 1986 I hired them to play here again once they got back together again, and there's 8,500 people here, and so we started that rapport with them, and in fact we just moved their boyhood home across the street and donated it to the city, and we've done a lot of work with scholarship in their name and that type of thing. So the ties with the Everly Brothers have stayed pretty tight since we got together with them 20 years ago.
That's awesome. Wow, there's a whole nother room back here.
Now here's where we make beer, and we make about 20 kegs at a time, 320 gallons, and we do that about every 6 to 8 weeks. So it doesn't take that much room to make the beer.
Just make it a weekend out of it, or?
It takes me about a day to make it, and then it has to sit there for about a week, and then you keg it up, and we store it in a different location. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then we've been, like I say, we've been doing that probably 15 years or something
now,
like that.
how much request have you had for your special beer since you started making it? Are you getting a lot of people from maybe out of town coming by?
Yeah, we get a lot of people from out of town that want to try it, and then the local people are switched over, but I'll tell you, we still sell probably more Bud Light than we do anything else. So that's the same here as anywhere else.
Do you guys bottle it and sell it elsewhere, or
no,
just
we
here
don't.
in-house?
It's just in-house. And in fact, the license we have in Iowa, it's kind of a tricky license, but it has to be consumed here on premises.
So if you guys want some of their homebrew beer, be sure to come right here, or else you're not going to be able to find it anywhere else.
That's right.
Wow, this room really opens up.
Yeah, this is where the dining room, it's used quite a bit. We have about 60 chairs in here, and I think 60 in the other two rooms. And we added this on in probably, the late 80s, I suppose, something like that. So this wasn't part of the original Depot. This was added on later.
Now, that definitely caught my eye over there, an old radio. Can you tell me about that?
We have a lot of old radios. My grandmother was on the radio, and I got quite a few of them from her.
Really? What station?
She was on KMA and KFNF, and she was also syndicated, so she was on a lot of radio stations around. Her name was Edith Sterling. She was the little minister, they called her. But I collected radios, and I've collected all kinds of old things over the years.
Now, what's that big honking thing right up there?
That's a camera that came out of the local newspaper. It's from the 1920s. It's made out of cherry wood. And
wow.
It's kind of an unusual piece, one of my favorite pieces.
I couldn't imagine even carrying that thing anyway. That's pretty much once you set it down, it's there to go.
Yeah, it's permanent. It's pretty permanent. Yeah.
Now, Bill, this seems like this place has a ton of history, but here on Dine on the Rough, as much as we love the history, we love the food even more. Yeah. Now, do you guys have a specialty dish maybe I could dig my teeth into?
Well, you know, one of the favorite sandwiches is we make our own tenderloins, and that's not common everywhere else in the world, but you know, in the Midwest it is, and we sell a lot of tenderloins.
I think that's what I'm going to have to try.
Okay, well that's
Let's go back in the kitchen and see what we can do.
Okay.
Before we step back into the kitchen to see them prepare my dish, let's talk a little history about the staple of the Depot, beer. This may or may not be surprising, but beer is actually the third most popular drink in the world, behind water and tea. It is also one of the oldest beverages, going back to the year 9500 BC. Sumerian writing has been found in the Middle East that is known as the Hymn of the Nikasi, which doubled as a prayer to the goddess Nikasi, and it was also the recipe for beer. In 3000 BC, beer was spread throughout Europe by Germanic and Celtic tribes. Beer did not have the hops in it as it does now until it was mentioned in the year 822, and again in 1067. Before hops, beer used to contain fruits, honey, plants, spices, and even narcotic herbs. The purity law is actually one of the oldest food regulations, which states that only allowed ingredients in beer are water, hops, and barley malt. Hydrometers and thermometers change brewing by giving the brewer more control over the drink, as well as giving the brewer better knowledge of the results. Here in the Midwest, there are two relatively famous breweries, one being the Boulevard brand beer, which is brewed in Kansas City, Missouri, and the other being Anheuser-Busch, which is of course brewed in St. Louis. Coming up, I give a little instruction on how you can make your own beer. I take a look back into the kitchen and I get my hands on their massive tenderloin sandwich and famous wheat beer. This and more on Diner on the Rough. Welcome back to Diner on the Rough. We are in Shenandoah, Iowa at the Depot Deli, where they are famous for their delicious meals and in-house made microbrewed beer. Before we continue on to the kitchen, I'm going to instruct you on how to make your own beer. There are a couple of ways you can brew your own beer. One way is going to a brew on premises, or a U-brew, which provides you with everything you'll need and keep it for you while it's brewing. Another way is getting all the equipment for yourself and brewing it at your own location. Home brewing equipment is not at all that expensive, and if you are a smart buyer, you can get all that you'll need for about $100 to $150. To brew your own beer, you'll need the following items: a brew pot, primary fermenter, airlock and stopper, plastic hose, bottling bucket, bottles, a bottle brush, a bottle capper, and a stick-on thermometer and other various household items that you probably already have. After you have all the equipment, you might want to consider buying a beer kit. The kit will hold all the ingredients and tell you how to brew it. This is probably the best way to start off until you become more experienced and adventurous with your recipes. It will go through a fermentation process after everything is mixed together. Fermentation is a chemical change, and in the subject of beer, it is a chemical change from sugar to alcohol. Yeast enzymes break up the sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. After waiting a week through the primary and secondary fermentation processes, the beer will be ready to drink. Now, if you want a more in-depth instruction of what the brewing equipment does, or where you can get it, or how the process works, you can go to the site right here. Let's step back into the kitchen with the staff of the Depot to see how our dish is made. So Eric, I understand that you're going to be the one making my tenderloin. How long have you been working here, man?
Oh, about 6 years.
6 years, wow. So you've got your technique down and everything, right?
Yeah, I made a few tenderloins.
Cool, well let's check out how this stuff is made real quick.
Okay.
They take a breaded tenderloin and cook it to golden perfection in their fryer, along with seasoned waffle fries, which create a perfect dish to go with Bill's microbrewed wheat beer. You know, it's times like this I realize I have the best job in the world. Bill, that looks delicious, man. I'm a fan of the waffle fries. Oh, that's a huge tenderloin. Absolutely, man. I'm gonna have to try this out right now. It's cooked to perfection, golden brown. The waffle fries look great. This is just a fantastic little family-owned restaurant, and I highly recommend anybody who's in Shenandoah to stop on by. That's really good. All in all, the Depot is a great place to eat and does Shenandoah and the Midwest proud. The food is delicious, and the in-house made beer is to die for. I, for one, would recommend this to anybody who's going to be passing through. As always, you can see the previous episodes on YouTube, and if you have any comments or questions, you can email us at knwt@nwmissouri.edu. Hey, Bill, thanks a lot. That tenderloin was fantastic, man.
Yeah, great. Thanks for coming.
Not a problem. There's a ton of stories. I'll definitely be back, especially for that microbrew beer. That was smooth.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll have one with you.
This has definitely been a diner on the rough. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to hit the road and hit the next diner.
Yeah, thanks again.
I'll see you later, man.
Take care.
Woo! Woo! And my mom said I'd never be a fireman. Psh! Whee!